Ridiculous. This league is so damn unprofessional. It's not even funny. You mean to tell me that you guys had fans paying for these like meet and greets or whatever it was, and you guys, some of y'all no-showed, just flat out no-showed. Some of y'all had the fans waiting in hours because you were coming hours and hours late because y'all was out with the stud buds getting drunk all night.
They don't think they need to go the extra mile. They don't even think they need to show up on time for fan meet and greet and autograph sessions, pretty much spitting in fans' faces. Fans who traveled maybe across the country to get that opportunity. Fans who maybe saved month after month after month after month to get enough money to buy a plane ticket, save enough money to get a train ticket, to get All-Star tickets, to get a hotel, to get an opportunity to meet and greet some of their favorite players. There was one player that showed up to these meet and greets on time. There was one player that wasn't out the night before grinding in the club. There was one player that actually does go above and beyond. There's one player that actually does put in the extra work. There's actually one player that clearly doesn't feel entitled to the fans she has. She understands she needs to work for those fans that she has. She needs
To be fair, there were a few players who showed up on time to everything. Caitlin Clark, in particular, was very punctual for every obligation she had. She gave away her shoes, signed autographs, hugged fans, and competed hard in the All-Star game, where we bought 6 tickets at over $450 each. More than $2,700 for our family to be there, so nearly $3,000.
WNBA All-Star Weekend was supposed to be the one time all year when regular fans, the ones who actually pay for tickets, jerseys, and flights, got real access to the players they support. Instead, a lot of them walked away from Chicago with a very different story to tell, and it wasn't a flattering one for some of the league's biggest names.
I'm not saying you scamming the fans, but I'm like, yo, bro, people paying money, bro. Be more mindful of what people paying for, yo. Cause to watch y'all do all this other BS that y'all was doing, it don't even make no sense. Y'all shooting air balls, y'all missing wide open layups, like y'all literally showed that y'all didn't care.
Because while the league promised meet and greets, photo opportunities, and player appearances all weekend at WNBA Live presented by AWS, plenty of fans who actually showed up said the experience didn't match the promise at all. One recurring complaint that started circulating almost immediately involved fans who paid to get into a designated meet and greet area, only to be told once they got close that photos weren't actually allowed after all. Not a rule change nobody noticed, a bait and switch happening in real time, with fans already standing in line holding their phones, expecting the exact thing the app told them they'd get.
We attended WNBA Live and waited in line over 2 hours to meet a couple of the top name athletes. They showed up 40 minutes late, signed autographs for 10 minutes, and left. This happened several times throughout the weekend. My children were in tears after waiting for hours only to be turned away. To be fair, there were a few players who showed up on time to everything. Caitlin Clark, in particular, was punctual for every obligation she had. She gave away her shoes, signed autographs, hugged fans, and competed hard in the All-Star game, where we bought 6 tickets at over $450 each, more than $2,700 for our family to be there. She clearly understands that fans can make or break a career, and she came across as a genuinely good person. I was deeply disappointed in several of the other players, showing up 40 minutes late and signing autographs for 10 minutes.
And that's really where this entire story starts. Not with one bad headline, but with dozens of small, frustrating moments fans started stitching together once they compared notes online afterward. A rushed signature here. A player who walked straight past a roped-off section without even glancing over. A sponsor booth appearance that lasted 10 minutes when fans had been told to expect 30. None of these moments individually would be a huge deal on their own.
All-Star is supposed to be a fan experience. You guys blew it, man. Y'all absolutely blew it. Chicago. I was just in downtown Chicago. Y'all saw me doing videos from a hotel room. I was in downtown Chicago for 4 or 5 days 3 weeks ago. And that wasn't All-Star weekend. And the hotels were expensive. I paid $1,500 for 3 days, I think. No, like 1800 for 3 days. So I know these that like they're at nearly $3,000. That's not including flights, hotels, Ubers, food, nothing. And this is how the fan got treated. Ain't this some shit? Pardon the language. Like, come on, man. I mean, this is messed up. It's messed up.
But once they started piling up across the same weekend, in the same city, involving some of the league's biggest names, fans stopped treating them as isolated incidents and started asking a much bigger question. Do some of these players actually care about the people funding their careers? Or is All-Star Weekend just another work obligation they're trying to get through as fast as humanly possible?
Abomination of basketball is what the WNBA All-Star game was.
All-Star games, though.
They have to treat it a little more serious. The MNBA needs to treat the All-Star game differently if you want people to care, and the W needs to treat the All-Star game differently if you want people to care. It all stinks.
It set the record for attendance.
I know, and those
WNBA
those
All-Star.
19,000 fans deserve better. My one takeaway was, wow, how cool was it to see 19,000 fans stack the United Center to watch WNBA All-Star, and then the game itself was an abomination of basketball. Even Caitlin Clark during the game, while walking off with Holloway Rowe, they were doing like a little side-by-side. She said, let's play a little bit. Let's play. Come on. Everybody, let's play.
No.
By no means is this the most important thing in the world. It's another All-Star game. But if you're going to have the All-Star game, I don't understand why you don't actually play.
Now, to be fair, All-Star Weekend is genuinely exhausting. Players are running between skills competitions, three-point contests, sponsor obligations, media days, and the actual game itself, all packed into a 72-hour window. Nobody's saying every single player owes every single fan an unlimited amount of their time and attention. That would be an unreasonable standard for anyone in any profession. But there's a real difference between being busy and being visibly checked out. And fans this year said they could tell the difference immediately, depending on which player happened to be standing in front of them.
This sounds like something that WNBA players would do every time if they had the ultimate divas, the ultimate diva athletes to ever exist. The most entitled athletes to ever exist, entitled, and they deliver a substandard product outside of CC22. You take another look. We were at WNBA Live Friday and Saturday. Almost everyone was 30 minutes late minimum. It was crazy. Caitlin was on time for...
Some fans described the exact same booth on the exact same day, feeling completely different depending on who rotated through it. One player would crouch down, make eye contact, ask a kid's name before signing something. The next player through would sign without looking up once, already scanning the room for the exit. That inconsistency is exactly what got people talking, because it proved this wasn't just about scheduling pressure. If it were purely about time constraints, everyone would look equally rushed. Instead, some players clearly made a choice about how much of themselves they were willing to give, and others made a very different one.
Okay, here it says, saw this comment on YouTube claiming that the WNBA All-Star meet and greet, Caitlin was apparently one of the few players who showed up on time. If that's true, fans who paid to meet the players deserve better. They 1000% deserve better. Everybody was out, too busy out, getting drunk, smoking weed, probably doing a couple bumps, lines of coke, all types of stuff. Yo was out doing everything. It turned it into Freaknik.
Which brings us to Caitlin Clark, because her weekend looked almost nothing like the complaints everyone else was posting. Fans documented her giving away a pair of her own shoes to a lucky fan after a game. And this wasn't even the first time she'd done it this season. She'd already pulled the same move back in April after a preseason win over New York. Then during All-Star Weekend itself, she went a step further and told fans they could actually go hunt down hidden pairs of her unreleased Nike signature shoes scattered around Chicago, turning a simple gesture into a full weekend scavenger hunt built specifically around her own fan base.
Guys, don't lean over, okay? Thank you.
Think about what that actually means logistically. Somebody in Clark's camp had to plan that out ahead of time, coordinate directly with Nike, figure out drop locations around the city, and build an entire experience around fans instead of just showing up, signing a stack of items for 15 minutes, and heading straight to the car. That's not the behavior of someone treating her fan base as an afterthought squeezed in between sponsor commitments. That's someone who seems to actually sit down and think about what would make the weekend memorable for the people who paid real money to be there.
And I'm curious, did you hook up any teammates or anybody with the shoe? Or, I mean, Courtney Williams is rocking them tonight, which, like, I've had multiple people ask for them. I only have size 9 right now, so they're actually playing in my samples. That's actually my size 2. Both buds have them on. Both of the buds have them on. So, yeah, this is a pretty fun pairing you're looking at. I think it's like Valentine's Day edition. You got the charm on there, but I was gonna wear some all white ones. I'm like, that's not fun enough. We got to break out some fire.
So cute with the color. The ombre matches the jersey.
And that contrast is exactly what set fans off this past week. Because it's one thing for a rookie or a deep bench role player to be a little awkward with crowds, still learning how to handle attention nobody prepared them for. It's another thing entirely when some of the league's most recognized, highest paid stars are the ones getting called out for treating paying customers like an inconvenience, while the player getting the most media scrutiny of anyone in the entire league is also, by a wide margin, the one going furthest out of her way to make fans feel like they actually matter to her. Some players showed up to these paid, scheduled appearances looking noticeably worn down. And not in the ordinary, long-season, tired legs way athletes usually look after a grinding stretch of games. People online started describing certain appearances as looking closer to hungover than tired, pointing to slow, sluggish energy, minimal eye contact with fans, and a visible lack of enthusiasm that stood out badly against how upbeat these same events are normally supposed to feel.
Chat, we gotta get T up, chat.
The ice on the head is iconic right now, core.
Chat, look at her. Look at her. Look at her, chat. Wakey, wakey, lemon bakey.
All-Star Weekend has developed a reputation over the last couple of years as one of the biggest party weekends on the entire WNBA calendar. Players from across the league fly into whatever host city gets picked and treat the Friday and Saturday nights as an unofficial league-wide celebration, complete with after-parties, sponsor mixers, and late-night appearances that spill well past midnight. That's completely normal. Athletes in every professional league on Earth do the exact same thing during their All-Star breaks, and nobody should expect otherwise. The problem only becomes a real problem when the partying starts visibly bleeding into paid obligations the very next morning, in front of fans and sponsors who showed up expecting a certain baseline level of energy and didn't get anywhere close to it.
Hi guys, welcome back to Pedro. Good morning. We are back and we're better. We're actually not better.
Water with electrolytes.
Where's the electrolytes?
Water infused electrolytes. Damn, I look good.
Yeah, I told you this morning. You didn't look great. Where's your iPad? Look at this. Good morning. Spoon. Okay, guys, we'll be back.
And that's really the core of why this whole story blew up the way it did this week. It's not really about one player being rude, and it's not really about one bad meet and greet that could easily be written off as a fluke. It's about a pattern fans think they're seeing, where a chunk of the league's biggest names treat fan interaction as a chore to survive, rather than a part of the job actually worth showing up for, while the one player facing the most pressure, the most media attention, and arguably the least room for error, kept finding small, genuine ways to make her fans feel like they got their money's worth out of the weekend.
So much thrown out there. Kelsey Plum did a little sideline interview where she was like, well, it could be more competitive. But look, by its very nature, the All-Star game, and I don't care what professional league you're talking about, has never been about it being physical. It's never really been about being all out, physical in nature. It's been about bragging rights, and it's been about also ensuring player safety so that they don't get injured and cannot compete for the games that really do matter for the rest of the regular season. So my question out to the growing audience out there, the at large, how then would you instill some kind of competition to make it more interesting, yet keep player safety at the forefront and paramount? I mean, it has to be.
There's also an uncomfortable financial layer sitting underneath all of this that fans kept bringing up in the comments, and it's worth sitting with for a second instead of glossing over it. A lot of these meet and greets and sponsor appearances aren't free for the fans attending them. This isn't pocket change for most people saving up specifically for this one weekend. When someone pays for a premium experience specifically because it promises FaceTime with a player, and then gets a rushed 30-second interaction or gets told photos aren't happening after all, that's not just mildly disappointing. That's arguably a mismatch between what was advertised in the ticket package and what was actually delivered on the ground. And fans are well within their rights to feel like they got shortchanged on something they saved up for.
I think the league needs to decide whether it is going to be a professional sports league or a sorority. At the moment, too many are leaning towards the latter. Those starlets are so full of themselves, can't even respect those fans' time and effort to attend the event. Doesn't surprise me. Nope. Not at all. They were all drunk. Is that an excuse? We went to WNBA Live all 3 days. I recall Paige being late to her appearances, but I'd guess most of it was due to how many appearances she made. She had a 1-hour meet and greet for DoorDash, then an hour for Ally back-to-back. She was late to both, and that was a handler. So you're late to both. Not on time to one. You're doing your thing. You're staying late. You're engaging, and then you're late to another. No, you were late to the first. You were late to the second.
Some players and league voices pushed back on all of this criticism before it even fully spread, framing the entire weekend as a celebration that shouldn't be picked apart looking for negative storylines every single time a camera is rolling. And there's a fair point buried somewhere in that reaction. All-Star Weekend genuinely is meant to be lighter than the grind of the regular season, and turning every small, forgettable moment into a manufactured controversy isn't healthy for anyone involved, players included. Athletes are people too, and constant scrutiny over every gesture, every facial expression, every 10-second clip taken out of context can wear a person down in ways that have nothing to do with basketball at all.
Did not care about the fans. All they wanted to do was get drunk, party, do drugs, and hump on each other. That's all they wanted to do. Let's keep it real. People couldn't tell what the players thought of their fans after last year's All-Star games, less than a handful of exceptions, really. We were at WNBA Live. Look at this. We were at WNBA Live Friday and Saturday. Almost everyone was 30 minutes late. Minimum. It was crazy. Caitlin was on time for her stuff. This is crazy, man. They don't care about the fans. The players were out there getting drunk. WNBA should change the name of the league to Hoopin' Up.
But that defense only goes so far when the complaints aren't actually about the concept of a fun weekend existing in the first place. They're about specific, describable moments where fans who spent real money on tickets, merchandise, hotel rooms, and flights just to be in that city walked away feeling like an afterthought to the very people they traveled to see. What fans are asking for is a lot simpler and a lot smaller than that. Basic effort. A few extra minutes when a line of people is standing there hoping for 30 seconds of genuine attention. Showing up to a scheduled paid appearance at something closer to full energy, instead of visibly running on fumes from the night before, in front of people who didn't get invited to whatever party kept them out late.
I think All-Star Weekend was just half-assed in Chicago. I don't think Chicago did a great job of advertising, of marketing. I don't think Chicago did a great job of putting out different billboards and making it known in the city of Chicago through activities that All-Star Weekend was among us. And I don't know why. Chicago is a huge basketball city. And the All-Star game was just boring and not competitive at all. The players didn't seem like they cared. They didn't seem like they were trying to even try. I can count on one hand how many players I felt like were actually trying to compete. Just make it a little bit of fun for the fans. We got Caitlin Clark, of course, Olivia Miles, Dominique Malunga, Jonquil Jones. But I feel like this is just a joke for people. And I understand the premise of there's a whole half of WNBA season left to play. There's playoffs. No one's trying to risk getting hurt. Y'all weren't doing shit during WNBA All-Star Game to even potentially put yourself in harm's way of a risk. Y'all weren't going to get hurt during that piss.
And that's exactly why Caitlin Clark's weekend stood out the way it did. Not because she did anything superhuman or reinvented what fan engagement is supposed to look like, but because she did the ordinary, basic things fans have quietly started to feel like they can't count on anymore from a lot of these players. She gave away shoes more than once this season without turning it into a huge production every time. She built an entire scavenger hunt around her own gear just to give fans something extra to chase and get excited about during the weekend. Something that cost her camp real planning and coordination rather than a 5-minute afterthought. None of that required a massive marketing budget or an entire department working overtime behind the scenes to pull off. It just required actually caring, consistently, on a weekend built specifically around showing fans that you do.
Yeah, and y'all beg, and y'all cry, and y'all scream, and you're so thankful and so grateful for the fans to show up and watch you, and this is the performance that you give. Y'all are not the NBA. Y'all don't have decades of proven fandom, proven economic increase in financials. Y'all don't have that. Y'all don't have the luxury to be resting on your laurels, talking about, we just want to make sure we're taking care of ourselves for the second half of the WNBA season. Y'all spent more time getting together your outfits and your wigs and your weave and your nails and whatever else appearance-wise than y'all did even caring about putting on a show for the fans.
So when people say the WNBA has a fan connection problem right now, this is the exact weekend they keep pointing to as proof. Not because every single player in the league failed at it, because plenty of players quietly did their part without any of this drama attaching to their name. But because enough of them did fail at it, loudly enough and visibly enough, in front of enough cameras and enough disappointed fans, that the gap between how Clark treated her supporters and how some of her peers treated theirs became genuinely impossible to ignore. Fans noticed, whether that's next season's All-Star Weekend or just a regular Tuesday night meet and greet outside an arena. That kind of scrutiny doesn't just disappear once the weekend ends. It follows a player's reputation around for a long time afterward, fair or not.